Hello again. Welcome back to the Pink Floyd Completion Project, and I am, of course, uh, excited to talk about this next album, and it's another album that I've listened to so many times that I don't even need to take notes for it. Wish You Were Here. Now, much like Dark Side of the Moon, the Floyd were working on quite a lot of the material on this album. Um, uh, since very shortly after Dark Side of the Moon's release, they were working on it they were working on one particular piece in 1974. You'll know this if you watched the last video that I put out on Live in Wembley 1974. And that piece of music is "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," but also in 74 and, the first half of 75, they were still on tour because Dark Side of the Moon was such a massive, colossal home run hit that they toured for a very long time. And obviously, playing the same songs over and over again would get a little boring. So they began working on, obviously some stuff from Animals, but they also began working on Welcome to the Machine and Have a Cigar at the time. Now, the title track on this was actually the last thing written for the album. It was written in the studio, the only one to have its parts entirely written within the studio. So yeah, and before we get into the album, I think I'm going to talk about the cover this time, because once again, Storm Thorgerson and Aubrey Powell of Hypnosis added to Pink Floyd's many pieces of visual iconography. Now, if you are just a regular browser of the internet and have come across many memes, you will recognize this cover as a meme. Now, what everybody can appreciate about this cover is that this dude actually set himself on fire. There was not a way back in 1975 to get that to look right. Also, famously, when it came out originally on vinyl, the band wanted it to look particularly unique on the shelves, so Aubrey Powell had the idea, or maybe it was Storm Thorgerson, one of the two had the idea of wrapping it in saran wrap and plastering this image on top of it so that people knew what it was when they were buying. It was, black opaque saran wrap, and in fact there are people out there who have not taken the saran wrap off the copy they bought in 1975 to this day. And, you can get the full story in the Hypnosis documentary, Squaring the Circle. That's on Netflix. Not sponsored or anything. I just highly recommend it. But now we get into the material on this album, and boy, does it not disappoint, my friends, because starting off, we have the first half of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, parts 1 to 5, another of Floyd's many epics. Pink Floyd's third symphony, if you will. Obviously, the first two being Atom Heart Mother and Echoes. Some people could argue that Dark Side would be the third symphony, and alright, I agree with that, but in terms of a singular piece of music, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, as far as I'm concerned, is Pink Floyd's third symphony. Now, it's amazing. Of course, you have the iconic fade up on Rick's keys. Rick shines on this album, by the way. I would almost call it Rick's. It might be the heaviest Rick. You know what I'm trying to say. It's the Floyd album on which Rick shines the most compared to many others, and not to say that he doesn't shine on any others, because he most certainly does. But he even shines at a couple points on the next album, which, if you know anything about, is, he kind of started going through some shit in 1977. But we're going to stay here in 1975. So Shine On You Crazy Diamond, of course, is this long, put together 25-minute tribute to former Floyd frontman Syd Barrett, who, obviously might have been mildly schizophrenic or just overdosed on acid and essentially went insane, couldn't function by himself the rest of his life. So, yeah. And also, another of the many stories of of the making of this album. So much shit went on with the making of this album, man. Famously, one day they're recording "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," or working on "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," and this big overweight dude walks in with a bag, with a Ziploc bag, and he's got his toothbrush in his mouth, bald, no eyebrows, and he goes, "Where do I play my guitar?" And everybody's standing around chatting to him. It's just like, who the hell is this dude? And then somebody had the realization. It might have been Roger. It might have been Dave. It might have been everybody at the same time. Everybody realized, holy Christ, that's Sid. Yeah. Sid Barrett himself walked in during the recording of the piece that pays tribute to him. This, like, again, and it's stuff like this that makes me understand why this is the favorite of many Floyd fans. And, and if you hear clacking, it's because my neighbor is unloading a couple of planks of wood or steel or something. They're doing something over there, probably wondering what the hell I'm doing out here. But yeah, like, it's, like, stories like this are why why classic rock is so important, but that's a discussion for another day. It's, it's also why people, call this their favorite Floyd album a lot of the time. But "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," parts 1 to 5, of course, it starts with Rick's key fade up and a long piano intro, and then Dave starts playing, and it goes on like this for like a good 3 or 4 minutes, probably longer. And then Dave plays the 4 magical notes. If you're a Floyd fan, you know what I'm talking about. They hit every time. Every time. I love them so much that it's the notification sound on the cell phone that I'm recording this on. That I like, it's a part of my daily life. I hear it many times a day, and it's still awesome. But "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," parts 1 to 5, that part of the song, about 13-ish minutes long. It's pretty good. Everybody's vocals are fantastic. Roger's studio vocals at this time were, pretty decent. Of course you've got, the women's choir harmonizing along with, Dave, Rick, and Roger when they go, "Shine on you crazy diamond," and it's so good. And also there's a sax solo in there, once again performed by Dick Perry. So an amazing opener, and which is followed, and once again, another staple of Floyd albums, for many of them. It cleanly transitions into "Welcome to the Machine." The second song on the album, it's roughly 7 minutes long. It's what this image ties into. And it's talking about the record industry, and pretty much, and paired with, "Shine On You Crazy Diamond" right before it. This is basically what happened to Sid, and also stuff they were, dealing with at the time. Welcome to the Machine. You dreamed of a big star. He played a mean guitar. He'd love to drive in a Jaguar. Like, it is crazy. It's just like, yeah, these are your boyhood dreams, and we're gonna make them real. But there's such a sinister undertone, like with Rick's harsh synths and Dave's acoustic and Dave's vocal as well. Like, it's crazy. It's like, ooh, Jesus Christ. Like, look at this. Like, this is what they did to Sid, essentially. When paired with "Shine On You Crazy Diamond." And "Welcome to the Machine" is the closer of side 1, because "Shine On You Crazy Diamonds" part 1 to 5 is such a fucking ridiculously long song. And also "Welcome to the Machine" is like 7 minutes long. And then in comes "Have a Cigar," which is, it was the single, or one of the singles, and it's "Have a Cigar." It's epic, and It's not Dave, Rick, or Roger singing on this song. It is folk musician Roy Harper. He and David Gilmour were friends. Dave did a take and Roger did a take, and they just weren't getting it right. So they were just like, "Hey, Roy Harper, can you come in and do this for us?" And he went, "Sure," and he did, and it turned out pretty damn well. It's a fantastic song. Roger would sing it live. Uh, like Roy Harper did perform it with them once, and that was, I believe, the day before the album was due to release, or at a music festival, very shortly before the album was due to release. So yeah, that's Have a Cigar. It also features another fucking fantastic David Gilmour guitar solo. It's David Gilmour. He's fan-fucking-tastic. Also, if you want to know what I think of his most recent album, it's fucking fantastic. Because it's David Gilmour. And we'll get to that one. I want to get to that one before I go see him in Madison Square Garden in November. So I'm going to start cranking these out a lot more rapidly, which, I'm excited about because the quality of material as opposed to the first half of the project remains pretty consistently decent, for the most part. But Have a Cigar is fantastic, and then that, fades out into it sounding like it's coming from a radio, and then, sounds like somebody's changing the channel, and then it sounds like Wish You Were Here is playing over the radio, the song Wish You Were Here, or the intro riff, and apparently, the radio stuff was recorded out in Dave's car, which is, a cool story. So many stories about the recording of this album. So many stories that I know, I guess. But Wish You Were Here. It's Wish You Were Here. This is the other single. This is also the song that is responsible for Pink Floyd putting their stuff on Spotify. This was the first song that they allowed to be streamed on Spotify, and they were like, if this can get to 1 million streams, we'll put the rest of our shit up there. And it got to 1 million streams, and they put the rest of their shit up there. So it's a fantastic song. Everybody and their mother has heard this song. It's one of the many Floyd classics. Any best of compilation must have Wish You Were Here on it. And then, of course, it's talking about Sid. Have a Cigar's lyrical themes are also about the shit that the band dealt with, basically, when they were signing on for Piper. Of course, with the line, "Oh, by the way, which one's pink?" which was an actual thing a record executive said to him once. I believe in the Piper days. It was like the American distributor or something. And then, so Wish You Were Here transitions cleanly into Shine On You Crazy Diamond parts 6 to 9. Once again, as a continuation of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, it's fantastic. You get a sax solo. You get the conclusion of the lyrics. Basically Roger going, hey, peel back a bunch of, peel back many more layers, and I'll be joining you there. Roger's like, yeah, no, I'm not that far off from you, buddy. Talking to Sid. And of course, the title, every other letter, or in the acronym for Shine On You Crazy Diamond, spells out Sid, S-Y-D. And it's, fantastic. And of course, it ends with Rick playing the intro to See Emily Play, albeit in a different time signature. So fucking buy it, dude. Fucking buy that shit. It's fantastic, whether you want it on, CD or, or vinyl. That's your choice. Obviously, I'm going with CD. Because, I don't have a decent record player, because the record player I have is on one of those all-in-ones that's going to rape my records. So yeah, buy it. Now, the Floyd would not tour this album after it came out. They toured most of the material before it came out, but they would not tour this album before it came out. And they would not tour it until 1977. And of course, 1977, a lot of shit went down in 1977. A very particular incident went down in 1977. So I will catch you next time with Animals. In the meantime, if you want to continue along this musical journey with me, please feel free to subscribe. If you like the video, leave a like on it, or don't. I don't really care. If you have your own opinion to add or something to contribute to the conversation, please leave it in the comment below. If you want to hear me talk about stuff other than music, I have a podcast. It's called Dorkies. I will leave a link to the most recent episode in the description below. And if you want to hear what I'm listening to that day, or a 15-second segment at least, you can follow me on Instagram at Sean_Heaster1979. I post a segment of a song on my story every single day. And with that, I will leave you, and I will see you all next time for Animals.